Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I'll be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about mental health, talking about trauma, depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, you name it, is going to happen in today's episode. Now, all of those topics are an episode in itself. I can talk about trauma in one whole episode, depression in one whole episode. And it's difficult to compile all of these different types of mental issues in one episode. So today's episode is going to be a lengthy one, but I promise you, and I encourage you to listen to the whole thing, whether it be you listen to half today, half tomorrow, or if you have a long commute somewhere, if you're going on a plane, download the episode and be able to watch it on your leisure time when you're just commuting, or if you're going to be doing something where you can have it on the side, listening to it passively or watching passively, and really start to take some of the lessons that we are going to be talking about today. So I'm going to be bringing on Dr. Stephan Neff to Coaching in Session, who's going to be talking about his journey on mental health, the work he does to help people with recovering, the books he has written on mental health and getting back to better. Because when we think about the way society is moving, we are kind of going down this hole of, are we going in the right place? And there's so much opinion about this, where we say we need mental health funding, and then mental health funding gets cut. And then there's nothing to do about mental health. Parents are taking their kids out of public schools, and that now they're homeschooling, and that's going to be the fix. But the fix is not taking your kids away from the problem. The fix is going to be, how do you equip your child to handle the problems? Because in our world, in our society, there's so much issues, so many issues that need to be addressed. Now, if I knew how to change a tire for my car, I said, you know what? I'm not going to teach my kids how to change a tire. I'm just going to make sure they have AAA. So I give them AAA. I said, you have AAA. If you ever need your tire changed, call AAA. Now, maybe they're hours away from AAA services, from someone to come help them, and they have a spare in the trunk. They can literally get that spare on in about 20 minutes. So we choose to not put the spare on, or teach our kids to put a spare on, because we give them a fix, AAA. They'll be out there to help you as soon as they can. But what happens if as soon as I can is not quick enough? What happens if they're on the way to a wedding? They're on the way to an event and they have a time constraint? Waiting 3 hours is not part of the plan. Sometimes mental health is not part of the plan. When someone falls into a state of depression, they don't want to be there. When someone has a traumatic point in their life, they don't want to be there. They don't want that to happen. But sometimes life happens, and sometimes we have to deal with what life gives us. Now, just because life gives us something unsatisfactory or something unsavory, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be equipped with how to handle what we get or what happens to us. So many people think that life is happening to us, but life just happened. It's not happening to you. Life is not picking on you. That's just the circumstances. What do you do with what happens to you? Because in a sense, you really can't choose what happens to you, but you have all the power to choose how you feel about what has happened. So getting into that mindset, getting to the understanding of mental health, and then learning ways how to get better. That's all going to be talked about in today's episode. So I encourage you to, again, watch it through all the way to the end. And then, of course, share, comment, subscribe, follow, do all of those things to help get this message out there. Because one of the biggest problems we have today in our world is mental health. So if you can be a trailblazer, if you can be an advocate for this episode and help spread the word, to create an awareness and to allow people to realize that there is a cure, there is a way out, there is something that can be done. Current circumstances or the current state of mind is not the final state. We can change it. We can work together. And if you know someone who can benefit from this episode, or if you know someone who is struggling right now, allow them to listen and maybe even share the space with them. Listen with them. And just be there for them for this hour, and to really get a good understanding of how the mind works and what can be done about it. So let's get into the interview now. Welcome, Dr. Stephan Neff, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing ever so well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for letting me be part of your mission to make this world a little bit of a better place, one interview at a time.
Of course. And I bring on special guests like you to tell their story and then to also share their wisdom. And today I have you on as a anesthetist who is going to be talking about mental health disorders, things along those lines, addiction. I mean, you name it, when it comes to our brain and it comes to our life, many people might have felt some type of trauma or some type of ailment that they needed some type of fix for. Sometimes they don't know that fix. And I know you have a story, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. But before I tell everyone your whole life story, in your own words, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm an anesthetist in New Zealand. I was brought up in Germany, so German strong roots. And I was brought up, in a typical kind of 60s, 70s, 80s fashion as a real man. A real man has to be hard, has to be, there are certain core beliefs that were pushed down to me, or which I soaked up naturally at that time. But nowadays I live here in New Zealand. I've traveled around the world. I'm nowadays living my life so beautifully, intentionally, that really every day I grow. Every day is a new miracle in view of the challenges that life throws you, and the choices that I make nowadays to deal with those challenges.
Today, I really want to be diving into the mental health problems that many people are having in the world, especially here in America. We have so many issues with mental health. It's not a problem until it is a problem, where it's like they will take away funding from the schools for mental health when something happens and then go, oh, wait, we need it. It's kind of like how they would strip police funding. And then when there's a rampant rise in crime, they say, oh, I guess we need more policing. And then so it's kind of like they keep going back and forth. They're very wishy-washy with mental health. And the first area I want to talk to you about is trauma. Trauma is going to be different and unique to everyone. Sometimes that trauma can debilitate someone to the point where it can lead to other ailments. But looking at trauma, what is trauma? And then maybe looking at how would you start to get out of that trauma and climb out of it?
I would define trauma broadly in the sense that it is a situation that massively stresses you out in a negative way, where your fight and flight mechanism, your adrenaline kicks in, and you truly are convinced, oh my God, this is a threat to my existence, to my life, to my family, to everything. What that could be, that could be anything from someone making an unwanted advance, to a nasty look your parents gave you, to your best friend being blown up on a battlefield. This is all trauma. And trauma is happening every single day around us. So therefore, those responses that we have, they have grown over, 100 million years in our bodies. So we have got a very powerful fight and flight mechanism, which saves you. So if you step in front of a bus and you suddenly think, oh shit, well, you've got two ways of dealing with it. You either jump back or you keep standing. The keep standing tends not to end so well. So you need that adrenaline to get out of it. So that's beautiful that it is there. But sometimes, unfortunately, those situations can leave you with deep mental scars. And many of us are not educated. We are completely illiterate when it comes to emotions, feelings, and what to do about it. Many of us have been brought up in societies where you rather numb feelings and emotions than actually deal with them. I would say that's the vast majority of us and probably our viewers here. Bottom line is, you have something happening to you that your body interprets as something very significant, something very scary, and something needs to be laid down in a memory so that in the future, maybe you don't expose yourself again to it.
I know sometimes there'll be traumas of maybe like someone getting hurt. For example, they got burned as a child with like hot oil, and that would be like a trauma for them. And it's not that they fall into any type of depression or anxiety. It's just that trauma is for them. So they're like, I'm afraid to go near the oven and I don't want to get that burn scar again. Or they keep thinking about that trauma. Or maybe they're in a relationship and someone cheated on them, and then that's the trauma for them. And they're like, now I don't want to be in another relationship. Our traumas can act as a way that stops us from living life.
Very much so. I'll give you one more aspect or one more facet to that. It doesn't have to be in your own life. And don't worry, we are not going into reincarnation or things like that. No. There's a beautiful animal experiment where mice, they had electricity placed on their ground every time a certain smell, the smell of cherries, was blown into the cage. So very soon the animals knew, hang on, if there is a cherry flavor in the air, you better run to that corner where there is no metal in the cage. Otherwise, you get burned. So these mice did what mice do. New mice came along, the next generation. And guess what? If you actually now blew some cherry flavor into the cage with the new mice, they had never had any electricity whatsoever. They ran towards the corner that was safe. So there are certain memories that can be laid down genetically. And that is, for example, how we explain the problem with needle phobia as doctors. They're 10% of population, where somewhere 50,000 years ago, someone figured out that it's not very clever to get stabbed. So if you get stabbed, you die typically in those times. So therefore, don't get stabbed, makes you live longer. Very powerful memory. And that is then nowadays in 10% of the population, leading to massive anxiety. Yet they might have never actually been exposed to a needle in a really truest sense. So here you go. So trauma can be happening to you when you're conscious. Trauma can be happening at the time when you're not really so conscious, or maybe as a child, when you can't remember things as easily. And trauma can be intergenerational and can be handed down. So it is a very complex challenge to us modern humans.
That kind of leads into the anxiety aspect, whereas creating anxiety, as the example you gave with the mice, is giving us an example of anxiety in the mice. Oh, cherry smell, I'm anxious, let me run to a corner. In our life, we have so much of that when it comes to work, career, relationships. I mean, you name it, there's going to be some type of anxiety, especially if that person has some type of pre-existing knowledge base or some type of wisdom on what's about to happen to them. Maybe if they once were struck by lightning, or they saw a friend struck by lightning, and it's lightning outside, and they're like, I need to get inside, like immediately. Though they might be safe, they might be in a car, they feel safer inside. So they're going to be super anxious, even if they're in the safety of their vehicle, that they are going to be freaking out. And there's almost no way to console this person because in their mind, they're about to die.
Indeed, you gave good examples there, but I would take a step back because anxiety is, again, a lot to do with our adrenaline kind of system, and then the slower system of the cortisol and all the other systems that are maintaining a heightened level of arousal over a longer period of time. So anxiety is, if you get an anxiety attack, I would say that there is a wave of neurochemicals washing over your brain to put you in a state of readiness to fight and flight. So that is maybe a nice way of putting it. And it is a wave of neurochemicals. Now, for some of us, unfortunately, we are hardwired, or at least we've got a higher predisposition to have these waves coming. And these doctors would then talk about a generalized anxiety disorder, or basically a mental health problem where that is far, far more likely to actually happen to you. When it comes, your body is getting ready to fight. So what happens? You've got this adrenaline coursing through your veins. You have got your heart beating very fast in your chest. Your breathing speeds up. I'm just right now putting myself in that state. I'm already getting here goosebumps. I'm switching on my adrenaline here as we are going. That is good if this was really now a saber-toothed tiger coming at me. That's probably quite handy. Or a dude with a knife. Okay, bring it on. Give me more adrenaline, please. But if it is an email, or if it is just somewhere a notification on Facebook that a new like or dislike or whatever has come in, and you go, oh my God, well, that is when anxiety really is no longer very helpful. So in its own right, anxiety, very, very nice survival mechanism. Thank you very much. It has helped us through our many, many years here on Earth as humans. But unfortunately, we live nowadays lives where we let ourselves being bombarded by so many inputs, and many of them are triggering a response, sometimes a response where your body says, oh my God, oh my God. And in reality, bullshit. Unfortunately, and that is the reason that you see nowadays an anxiety disorder on 1 in 5 young women in the Western world. 20% of girls in high school have got an anxiety disorder of sorts. And you think, oh, what the heck? Unfortunately, we're living lives where we do not pay attention to our basic needs. And the basic needs are hunger first, safety around us, our fatigue levels, our sleep. Those things that you say, yeah, boring. That's not why I'm coming here to listen. But when you actually have not drunken anything and you're dry like a crisp, your bladder is full because you have been working, and you can't go to the toilet. You're hungry. Guess what your body says? Your body says, hey, hang on. I think we're going to die now. Do you think there will be higher anxiety levels already because you haven't actually looked after your basic needs? If now then you live the next level of anxiety, constant barrage of electronic signals, and you never actually switch off, can you imagine that your body might not like that? And maybe you show then the negative signs of anxiety. So the burnout, it's all too much kind of a thing. So yes, anxiety, it's a wave of neurochemicals that washes over you, causes a set of behaviors. And regrettably, in some people, that becomes now the norm, that now becomes the bang. This is how we react to everything.
I taught in public schools for 5-6 years. I saw the anxiety there. I mean, I saw it in first graders where you would think a first grader shouldn't have any type of stress, any type of anxiety, but it's there, it's prevalent. It's just because what we were doing, I'm not sure how it is over there where you are, but here in America, we are very big on standardized testing, and it's causing a lot of anxiety in these young minds, in these children, where it's like the teacher saying you have to do good, and the principals are pushing teachers. Hey, this has to happen. Superintendents are pushing principals saying, hey, they have to do good because it all stems to funding. The better the school did, the more money they got. So the schools that didn't do good didn't get funding, but the schools that did good got more funding. I remember when I was at the school, and sometimes you need to, use the photocopier or the laminator, things like that. Well, we ran out of paper. We ran out of ink. We ran out of laminate. And guess what? It was toward the end of the year, maybe 2 months left, and we're not going to get any more. So we had to do the best we could. And it's difficult for teachers because they don't have the resources to provide the best type of education for the kids, because they're literally scraping by with the crumbs that they have. And it all comes down to funding. If you do good, you get rewarded. But if you do bad, you don't get rewarded. So this anxiety was prevalent in schools. And I mean, all the way up to high school. And I know it's still in college too, because I was in college too. So you can see people having anxiety about tests or friends or whatever it be. It's a lot. I'll tell you a story. It was a middle school girl, wonderful girl, very shy. She had a boyfriend at the time. And so she just kind of hanged around the boyfriend, but no one else in the school really liked her because she was hanging around this guy, and the guy was pretty cool. And then everyone else was jealous of her. So there's a lot of bullying going on. And so this girl was bullied. And she was always trying to fight, all these hateful comments and things like that, where in school she was protected because of teachers and things like that. But once she went home, social media, Facebook, I mean, there was nothing we could do. Well, she graduates middle school. In her first year of high school, she commits suicide. And it was because of the extensive amounts of bullying. So that anxiety and that trauma that she had to deal with for 2-3 years, maybe even longer, at that point, she decided the easiest way for her was to end her life so she didn't have to feel it. So that kind of goes into that depression aspect, because she was at that point where she's like, there's nothing I can do to feel better. And my life is done. It was sad. And I remember all the teachers talking about it. It was just like, everyone was just like, it's such a waste, because she has so much potential. Even though teachers and counselors will speak to her and, do their best to try to console her, give her methods to deal with the bullying and all the hardship she was going through, she still couldn't get out of that way of thinking.
Are you not putting the focus on the ambulance on the bottom of the cliff? How about putting the focus on the bullying? Actually making bullying really something that, for what it is a nasty, nasty, nasty thing that needs to be stamped out. And to deal basically, now we're talking again mental health, maybe with the problems of the bullies. Why are they so insecure? Why are they behaving like that? I challenge schools to not be there for the victim as the main purpose. Be there for the perpetrators and deal with them. And I mean, deal. Not just, oh yeah, they're poor misunderstood people. Bullshit. No, let's actually do something about it. And I think that is a problem that we're seeing again and again here. We see in New Zealand just as much because we have got the highest teen suicide rate in the OECD. So bottom line is, no, there's a lot of things wrong. There are a lot of things wrong in our education systems, and we need to take ownership of them. There's a lot of things wrong in our families. We need to take ownership of them. And that means, guys, when you're listening here, and girls, that means starting with you. You need to get your shit together and need to live by example. Don't put it on the teachers. Don't put it on anyone else. Start with you living by example, leading. Be a leader by your behavior, by showing integrity, humility, by actually dealing with your own shit and your own feelings. That is how we can create resistant kids. And that is magic when that happens. But of course, as you started off our interview, that only happens when you actually have been in the darkness yourself and you have experienced life with all its brutal challenges, when you wear the battle scars. Then you appreciate the light because you have been in your own darkness too long. Therefore, please, there is so much that can be done, but it all starts with you, dear viewer and listener. Okay? So as soon as this interview is finished, I want you to have a big glass of water. Look after yourself, number one. And then think of one tiny choice, one tiny action, one moment of intentional living. If you have children, that you can do with your children. Spend an intentional moment, not more, not 10 hours, but one intentional moment where you look after yourself and then after someone else. And just see how that feels. Maybe you get hooked on it, and maybe that might be something, a new way of living. Sorry, my passion ran away with me when you said about the schools, because we see it so much. And yet there's such little things to be done. Both of my boys were bullied. I was bullied. But having said that, I mean, your bullying over there in the United States, that seems to be on steroids. That bit of bullying that I had in my youth, yes, I got beaten up a few times. I don't think it set me up so much, maybe a little bit, but it seems to be a complete new level that we see nowadays. And that needs to stop.
Yeah, it's vicious over here. If you teach middle school, or if you talk to any teacher here in America and they say they taught middle school for any period of time, or if you ask them why they don't like middle school is a different beast here in America. The hormones are raging and those kids are entitled beyond belief. So they don't care who they trample. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care who they bully. They don't care what happens to the next person as long as they're taken care of. Here in America, we have a very entitled mindset, where as long as I'm taken care of, I don't care what happens to my brother or my sister. And I know how to fix it. The problem is we have to change the way the whole American society thinks. And that's going to be a huge mission, a huge ordeal, especially when they're already so used to it, because it's easy for them. It's easier to worry about themselves than have to worry about their friend or someone else being bullied, because now they have to stand up for someone else and they might be ridiculed for standing up for this person. So now they're going to be ridiculed also. And peer acceptance is so big, especially around that age. If they don't have that peer acceptance, then it's kind of like their development at that stage is kind of like, all right, fight or flight type of thing. Now it's like I'm fighting every single day versus just conforming to everyone. And then I'm accepted and then it's easy. And the brain loves easy. So if someone has to yell at a kid or belittle someone to be accepted by their peers and to conform to that group, they would. So they don't care about everyone as a populace. But then that poor kid is suffering because, yeah, they're having anxiety to go to school. They have all these traumas of, countless times of being bullied and ridiculed. And, maybe they got their books thrown, stuff in their locker. Like there's so much to it. I mean, these kids are hateful. And then it just leads to that deep, dark depression where it's difficult to get out of it, especially when you're younger, because your mind is just not developed yet to handle all of those problems that are given to you. That's why there's kids' problems and there's adult problems. And kids should have kids' problems, but we're basically putting on so much adult problems to kids.
You're quite right. You're quite right. But it's nuts, isn't it? Because I could challenge one aspect of what you said there as well. You said that adults are better adapted to deal with problems. Well, no, I don't think so. Again, we are like bloody Pavlov's dogs. Someone rings a bell and we start drooling. And that is how most adults live their life. All this anger, all the resentment, all those kind of things, These are emotions that many people don't even know that they have. It's just this comes that washes over them and they're ready to rip someone's head off, be that in an email form or be that in whatever it is. We are not being taught about our emotions. We are not being taught how to feel them. I'll give you an example. I had so much trauma and crap that I tried to self-medicate so much with alcohol, didn't work. And to cut it short, I ended up in rehab. And every day, 10 o'clock, we had feelings. And that's you sit around a circle. And basically, the guy doesn't say a word. And you just, oh God, it's the most awful thing. But it is only then when suddenly someone says something, someone replies, it doesn't matter what it is. You ate all the chocolate last night on that is there. And suddenly feelings come out. The rules were no sunglasses, no hat, no nothing. So you couldn't hide. You couldn't numb yourself with alcohol or any drugs. You had to actually feel those feelings. And for all those people in rehab, that was new. We had no idea what these things were that were washing over us. And yet our life was driven by them, by those core beliefs that we explored. All those things happen in every single person out there, every single listener, every viewer. You have the same things. Most of us are completely emotional. There is no emotional intelligence. We are just sort of running around like animals, being driven by some deeper desires that most of us don't even know what they are. That is the reality. That is the work that needs to be done. I mean, I say every 16-year-old should be mandatory to go to rehab for 1 month. It should be part of school. You're going to get rehab. You're going to have to deal with a system that helps you to explore what has happened so far in your life, what those emotions that you feel, the depression, the sadness, the depression, these kind of low feelings that are sometimes prevalent at certain times or periods in our life. And to a certain degree, you can't always be that saccharine, sweet Coca-Cola advertisement. We're laughing because we're drinking Coca-Cola or whatever it is. This generation and maybe the generation before us, we always wanted to be someone. Certainly for me, my heroes were the James Bond, Tony Curtis, those kind of, we're always having a good time, drink in your hand, girl in the other hand, those kind of cliches. But I got attracted to them. I redefined myself. And my society helped me to define myself as a type A personality, as a go-getter, etc. There were certain norms, etc. Part of that was that I thought I always need to be happy. I always need to be there, which is actually bullshit. There is a normal kind of level that your body likes. That's sort of like 0.0. And yes, if you're happy, if life is really, really good, yes, of course, you gravitate up there. But it's as if you're a big rubber band between the 0 point and you. So if you're always wanting to be up there, guess what? Your body gets tired. No, we can't always have fun. So you want to come back to the point where you're serene, where you're calm. We expect constantly to be there. So some of us get really, really pissed off with the serene. We don't know what to do. We have a drink to feel good again, use a drug to feel good again, have a sugar rush because that feels good again. No. We've forgotten where serenity comes. Who does yoga? Who does mindfulness? It's not something that we get routinely taught at school. No. You don't get anything taught like that. But then just as much as you strive to be up there, from now and then life has got its way of pulling you down. And there are moments of sadness. And some of them are very justified. A pet dies, a relative dies, you get some really bad news. It is normal to feel not right. It's normal to feel sad, to be low, to maybe have stupid thoughts running through your head. That's all is normal for a certain period of time. However, for some of us, without much happening, the serenity 0 point gets shifted and it comes the new norm, the new thermostat setting is at a very low end. And that is where you actually feel constantly down, blue, out, however words you subscribe to. You're not feeling right, you're feeling low. And there are often feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, of sometimes ideas of the world would be better if you were not here kind of stuff. There are often symptoms with your body that your weight shifts either up or down. There is problems with your sleep. You think when you're down, you should sleep well because you just want to be out. No, your sleep is all over the show. And typically, in my case, 4 o'clock in the morning, bing, I was wide awake. And someone played the worst of Stephan over the last 40 years. Every single thing I did wrong, it just was played in front of me. There's shame, there is guilt, there's all that kind of stuff happening. And if that is there for 3 months or even 6 months and longer, that is what is called depression. This is what is called a clinical depression. Having said that, depression is a chameleon. It can hide itself in so many forms. It is, for me, one of my key symptoms with hindsight was anger and resentment. That was my main default reply to those emotions. And yeah, I was a very angry man. So that was my story. But if you listen to many stories of depression, then you see how different depression can affect each and every one of us, at least on the surface. But then when you dig down to it, it's the same things that a doctor would try to look for and would recognize, and which therefore are the diagnostic criteria for depression. So it is something that is hitting you about 1 in 3, 1 in 4 chance in your lifetime. It is more common when you suffer an injury and have chronic pain, or when there are other diseases affecting you and that are setting you up. But it's also, you can think you are depressed, but in reality, there's something going on in your body that could be very easily cured and fixed. Let's say a woman who has been bleeding heavily through her periods and has a shit nutrition, doesn't look after her iron, etc. Well, the red color in the blood system will go low. In other words, the hemoglobin that carries oxygen to the body will be low. So therefore you feel crap. No surprise. So one of the first things that someone with depression should do is really get in touch with your GP, your family physician, and actually say, look, hey, this is what happens. I feel really down. I've got these thoughts. Oh my God, I need help. And with help, a GP in the first instance will take a series of bloods and will actually check for some very treatable reasons why you feel lousy. And surprise, surprise, there might be something there. And you deal with it, and bang, your mood is back to where it belongs. And at least serenity, normal, not this saccharine high crap. That is the first thing. So depression, we discussed how it looks like, that it can be a chameleon, and that there can be very much treatable causes for it. So therefore, don't wait. Don't hang around and think, oh, it's going to be fine. It's just me. I don't need to bother anyone. No, please be open, be honest. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to just be quiet about it. No, you're not all right. Okay, there are days when you've got the blues, end of the story, and you just want to roll up in a ball and feel sorry for yourself. Cool. Okay, you might have just, again, burned a candle on 3 ends and in the middle everywhere. Maybe you're just burned out and you need time out. Okay, that's your body sending you a message. Okay, so if that happens over a weekend, well, for crying out loud, tell your friends, no, you're not going out. It's time for you to look after yourself. Okay, watch some films, eat maybe some things that might not be so healthy for you. Okay, go for it. But, 1 or 2 days, that's normal. 1 or 2 months, more than 3 months, no. Go to see some help and see what's going on.
I mean, if we look at different areas of the world, different countries, different cultures, everyone has a model. Here in America, our model is men have to be tough, women can be nurturing, caring, loving. So men don't cry. Men don't talk about their feelings or their emotions. So we bottle them up. And to the point where we don't understand our emotions because we never had to address them. We always just threw them away, tucked them away somewhere safe where no one will ever find them, not even us. So we are experts at hiding how we feel. We put on a smile to show the world that we're okay and we're making it through. But really, we can be more depressed than anything you can imagine. And that typically leads to abuse, where they can abuse others, they can abuse themselves, they can abuse substances. And here in America, I know it's very common for people not to want to fight their way out of this depression. So they look for the easy way. Give me a drug. They go to the doctor. The doctor is so heavy handed and they will write a prescription before they do a test to see if there's any imbalances, is there any other things that need to be addressed. We're giving everyone a Band-Aid, but we're not giving them a cure. Our society is built on that Band-Aid. Well, let me just fix you for now, and then maybe you'll turn out okay. Later down the line, you realize that you're not okay. And a lot of these adults that come to me are not okay. They're broken. And one of the reasons I started my business was because of the limiting beliefs and because I saw the school system. Again, I was in middle school, I was in high school. I saw what was coming out of those establishments, of those schooling regiments, whatever you want to consider them. I saw that they were coming out unprepared, unequipped, and they weren't happy. So now they're just going along with society, going along with what their parents say, and not really looking on the inside because they have been told their whole life, don't worry about what's on the inside. Just do the best you can, and then everything will work out. Well, sometimes people don't get to that. So they say, I just can't keep feeling this way. So they smoke some weed, they drink some alcohol. And before you know it, that's the only way that they can get out of that low state of depression. So they're at that low point in that depression. And so they only feel good when they get that high. So that's when they feel good. That's when they're happy. That's when everyone loves them in their mind. And so they are like, this is good. So finally the high wears off and they're in that dark place and they're shivering and they're cold and they're scared. The only thing they want is to feel normal again. And normal for them is high.
Very nicely said. Very nicely said. It's complex because basically we all have those needs. We talked about the basic survival needs, but then there are higher needs up there that we want. We want warmth, we want love, we want connection. We strive towards those kind of things. That's why a new love feels so good. There's this dopamine rush. That's why when you as a mom and dad smell your newborn or your little infant, there is just the sheer smell of this baby gives you a dopamine rush, a warmth, a love, those kind of things. So these are the things that are really beautiful. The problem, of course, is some of us are super responders to those dopamine molecules. Or in other words, some of us have got the genetic predisposition that when something triggers that dopamine, it goes through the roof, 200 times higher levels than maybe someone else. And you think, whoa, that feels good. I mean, this is not just good. This is good. Oh, yeah, bring it on. What was that? And that could be alcohol, that could be marijuana, that could be love, that could be sex, that could be gambling, that could be the sugar rush, all those things. So all those things are potential triggers for you to say, wow, this is good. I need that. I want that. Give me more of it. And that is really what addiction is. It is a way of us to escape our reality. And that then ties in all the trauma, the core beliefs, the feelings, the altered feelings that are washing through us, all those neurochemicals that are out of kilter. All that causes pain, causes discomfort. And that is where then suddenly a certain behavior or a certain drug becomes so alluring, so tantalizing, because it changes your state and you don't have to work on it. You don't have to, it's much easier to unscrew a bottle of wine than actually to do 20 minutes of mindfulness or yoga or meditation. Most people have been brought up to have a certain set of standards, especially in the United States. You're strong. A whole generation was defined by being strong, being a man, as you alluded to. Therefore, for such people, we want to be strong. We don't want to be weak to go into, let's say, a yoga studio. Are you kidding me? That's so weird when you actually think about it. We're actually our own worst enemy. because certainly we have let society dictate how we are supposed to be and how we are supposed to feel. And like sheep, we have been driven down that paddock. And now we find ourselves here and we don't like the paddock. I've had some fantastic guests, a soldier who was the tip of the spear. He was defining himself as the alpha guy. And he ran into a machine gun. Unfortunately, the machine gun fired the other way towards him. And he ended up not so well afterwards. So his whole masculinity, his whole everything that he defined himself as a man got stripped away. And he literally ended up in a cave, homeless, etc., the whole 9 yards. And it is that problem. We are living up to certain gods, certain idols that we have put up there. At the moment we do no longer meet our own expectations, the rug is pulled from underneath us. And that is a really, really, really bad thing. So bottom line is we need to deal with our expectations. We need to deal with those anxieties. We need to deal with us as human beings. I think we can no longer just believe in the power of advertisement, in the anti-heroes of the 80s, 90s, and maybe early 2000s. When Schwarzenegger was asked in one of the films, how do you deal with upset in Russia? He was a Russian cop there. He said, vodka. And, that kind of attitude, Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon, waking up in the morning, coughing half of his lung out, smoking at the same time, walking naked with a beer in his hand and taking a piss. I thought, yeah, that's how a man wakes up. Bruce Willis, Die Hard, all those kind of things. I love those figures, but I also see the danger in them when you try to live up to such weird expectations. No, there needs to be a masculinity within you. And it's good to protect that masculinity, because there needs to be the badass in you that will rescue your life one day, who will quite happily rip someone's head off and shit down the thorax. That person needs to be there, because there are times in life when you have to be ice cold, and when you have to be a man to the worst of what a man has to be. And the same applies for a woman, for that matter. There needs to be that hard ass in you. But he can't drive the truck all the time, okay? There should be a very good ratio of him being in his cage, and there be a more serene and normal you out there who maybe can see, okay, fair enough. So you have been, 35 years now drinking like a fish. Maybe let's explore why. What was actually going on? And typically, no one wakes up like that. The moment you are finding yourself in a life where you have been addicted for a long time, to start off with, there's denial. 95% of alcoholics will tell you, no, there's nothing wrong with me. So that's one hallmark of the disease of addiction. The next hallmark is basically that there's guilt and shame, because you're doing things that you're not proud of. Probably deep inside, you shouldn't really drink a whole bottle of vodka every day. So there's this guilt, there's this shame. And maybe you're treating people around you in a nasty way because of your hurt feelings, because of whatever is going on in you. So there are many, many reasons, many hurdles that you put in your own way to prevent you getting better, prevent you getting good. And that's really, really hard. That's unfortunately why people in addiction often don't seek help. And it takes either a run-in with the law or a few run-ins with the law. It takes a serious health threat before anything happens. There's so many high-functioning alcoholics out there, high-functioning addicts, which are actually pillars of society or decent workers. In reality, they are holding it together for 8 or 10 hours a day, and then they go home and fall apart. That is such a normal kind of thing in our society. But we still put up the masks. We still put up the pretenses. We are not talking. We are not honest about what is really going on in our lives. Yet, when we actually start addressing the trauma in our lives, when we start to ask, why do I constantly try to escape my reality? That is when the magic happens. Often enough, you need help with that. And that's where hopefully someone loves you enough that they hate the addiction, but love the addict, that they want to do something about it. That is then when they might guide you into an AA meeting. They might guide you towards a psychologist, towards your GP, again, your family physician, who is at the core, he probably has known you for many years and he sees that you're not right. Okay. So maybe she can help you. She can alter maybe your own perception of what is going on, making you realize, hold the mirror in front of your face and show you that maybe your life at the moment is not so nice, and maybe opens up a few doors in that very dark corridor where there's some light shines through, where there's some rays of hope coming into your life. And that is so beautiful, because addiction lies to you. It will tell you there is no hope. You're such a bad person. You've deserved that. And you got all those kind of self-talk that is happening in your head. That is, you wouldn't talk to your worst enemy the way you talk to yourself. So that is, once someone actually shows you that and helps you maybe with equips you with some tools, psychological tools, to maybe counter this negative self-talk, to give you maybe some practical ways forward. So next time you're drowning in an anxiety attack, that you learn maybe how to breathe differently. Next time that when you're low and feeling down and out, that maybe you have learned how to take a different stance, how to actually change your physical state and do something really stupid. Tony Robbins is famous for his way of dealing with his own anxiety and basically trying to put a power stance and then looks up to the ceiling, smiles like mad, and then says, "Now be sad. Come on, I want to be sad. I want to be sad right now." And he's taking the mick out of himself in this way. But it is actually doing such stupid things that your body gets interrupted. Your body gets interrupted in its track. And you think, if you've done something stupid, maybe own up to it and actually make fun out of yourself. So the self-depreciating humor can be so powerful and can be so beautiful. Some actors are masters in that. If you listen to their interviews, they will always make jokes, but often about themselves in such a beautiful way that we warm to them instinctively. And that happens to me at work, because sometimes I do stupid things. And one of my nurses will look at me, "Really?" And we burst out laughing, because we've created this culture where we really work together. And if someone doesn't feel right on the day, they come to me and say, "Hey, look, my mum just went into a nursing home with dementia. I'm really not at it. Would you mind having my back? Just, today I might be a bit, And I said, "Brilliant, thank you," and might give them a hug or so. And that's brilliant. So I fostered in my own environment that openness about mental health. Everyone knows that I had been in rehab. Everyone knows that I live a very authentic life. There are days when I'm really good. And because I work on myself, most days I'm at the serene level and a bit above. So I'm having a good time. And that is reflected in how I am. But there will be days when I come in and I'm grumpy and I haven't slept well. And maybe I haven't had breakfast and all those kind of things. And people accept that because I'm open and honest about it. If someone is grumpy with me, then I will not immediately bring up, "You disrespect me." No. I say, "Okay, what the shit is going on here?" I might make a stupid joke. No, we can't. We have to be so politically correct. I might say something like, "Oh, is it that time of the month again?" And, some stupid thing like that. Typically, that addresses the elephant in the room. It often de-escalates things. And, it's some stupid things. But you need to have the mental awareness, the emotional awareness that, okay, what's going on here? And don't respond to the way that someone talks, but try to figure out what is really going on. With my wife in my relationship, shit, that is constant. She will say something, "Rawr!" And I say, "Okay, what do you really want to tell me?" And nowadays, after 8 years in sobriety, 8 years of us working differently with each other, we are taking those cues, and you realize suddenly she says, "Well, actually, something completely different comes out than the fact that, I don't know, I left some crumbs on the table." It's those kind of things. Life is beautiful. Life is full of challenges. It's full of challenges that make us grow if we let them. Unfortunately, we try to escape our realities. Unfortunately, our life has been full of trauma and full of emotions that we didn't even recognize for what they were. And we are somehow dealing with it. We are basically at the emotional level of a chimpanzee that you put in front of a computer who sort of taps away on the keyboard, and suddenly something happens and the chimpanzee says, wow, that's cool. I like that. Or, ooh, I don't like that. That's about the level that we are with most people with regards to their emotions. Let's change that. Let's actually change that. Let's start early in children. Let's actually bring mindfulness to the board, to the school. I've teamed up with a gorgeous person, and Belinda Manna, and we created a children's book, Esme, the Mindful Mouse. Okay, start early. Talk about emotions. Talk about the difference between a child doing something naughty and being bad. Just because you're vivacious and you're breaking something or spilling the milk, that is, you have done a bad thing. You're not a bad little mouse or a bad little child in this case. Okay, there's a very big difference. So therefore, let's address feelings. If a child falls over, no, you don't just shove something sweet down their mouth and make them feel immediately get the sugar rush and say, see, pain, sugar rush, dopamine, cool. That's how you live from now on. How about just sit with the child, take it in your arms and actually say, oh, that hurts. I bet you that hurts. But guess what? We just sit together here and we are together and the pain will go away. Just give it a few moments. Would that not be a much nicer way how we can prepare our children for the trauma that will come in the future? My parents didn't do that, but they were not bad. They were not waking up one day and saying, look, today we're going to stuff him up. We're going to fuck him up. We just do, his mind is gone after that. No, they did what they had to do and what they thought was best under their circumstances. So I believe that every parent is doing the best they can with the tools that they have been given. The problem, of course, is they have no tools as far as emotions are concerned. And they are coming even out of stauncher times when it was even less acceptable to have a mental health problem, where it was even harder to seek help. But nowadays, the sheer fact that you guys are listening to this interview, that you're watching this video, means you know that you have got the power to change. You know that you can make the next moment a decision. You have the privilege to make decisions. You have got a duty to live intentionally, to actually say, okay, I'll do now something that helps me move forward, or I do something that moves me closer to mental health problems or to my addiction. So you either work on your recovery or you work on your addiction. It's the same. You could say you work on your recovery or you work on your mental health problem. Okay. So you have got the choice. And I encourage you to live more intentionally. I encourage you to ground yourself, to get off your hamster wheel of work, relationship, troubleshooting, etc. Where are you in that game? Just step out of this hamster wheel, make time to reconnect with yourself and switch off your phone, switch off the telly, switch off everything. Maybe go into nature, hug a tree, literally hug a tree. So I know it sounds stupid, but that was one of my first guests on my show. She was so in a mess. And she went to a yoga retreat and she thought she going to learn now some magic things, but she could barely walk. She was so much in pain to emotions, which were sitting in her tissues. So the yoga teacher literally brought her to a tree and said, stand at this tree. And she thought he had lost his mind. I pay money for you to stand near the tree. Yet 30 minutes later, and the yoga teacher said, no, you can let go now. She actually walked back unaided to the car. And that was the first time for such a long time that she was able to take steps without pain. And she thought, what the hell? Okay. She actually gave her body the chance to settle down. She gave her body the chance for the sympathetic nervous system to wind down or even switch off. By taking some deep breaths, she was activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So the nervous system part that is there for rest and for healing and for rejuvenation, so to speak. And that is beautiful. Maybe make it a challenge to yourself every day to do something good for you. That means maybe from now on, for the next 20 days, drink more water. 1 cup of water on your bedside table every morning, down it goes. That's the only change you make. You might feel actually after a few days, you actually feel better because you're suddenly rehydrating in a regular thing. Tiny change. You haven't done much more than fill a glass of water and actually drink it. Hey, that's easy, isn't it? And now maybe add another change. Maybe from now on, you make a point of having something leafy green. It doesn't matter which leaf. If it is one single leaf of spinach, bang, in every meal. And that could be on your sandwich or it could be mixed in your food. So suddenly you do something simple with nutrition. And you think, that didn't hurt. That was easy. So you made already 2 changes. Imagine you keep going with that. Imagine you do that in other aspects of your life, your finances, your emotions, your relationships. Imagine the principle of the 5-minute gardener. Do every day 5 minutes in your garden. Never more, never less. Continuously 5 minutes every day. Can you imagine that after a week, your garden looks different? After a month? After a year, can you imagine this oasis that has grown? Now do the same, the 5-minute gardener, do the same in your relationship. 5 minutes, just 5 minutes with your troubled child. Never more, never less. Could you imagine that the relationship between you and your troubled child will be different? An educated guess, yes. So I invite you, come along on this journey. Michael and me are on this path. We have seen the darkness. We have seen the not so nice sides of humanity, especially within us. And we have made conscious decisions to change that. We've made conscious decisions to live a life that is worthwhile living, a life that actually leaves a legacy, something I can be proud of. It took me a while. It took me till my mid-40s until I came to that point. But I'm now trying to catch up. I'm still an addict, but I'm addicted to life. I invite you to come along onto this journey because life is beautiful. With all its challenges and obstacles, it is beautiful. Come along for a ride.
One of the reasons why I reached out to you to have you on was because you had that experience, you had that wisdom, and you found ways to help people get out of that mental health problems that they were having, ranging from trauma, depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, all of those different things was something that you knew you could help people with. And you started to make the efforts to have those changes, whether it be from your podcast, writing your book, working with people individually or in groups. You found a way to help people. And what I do here, Reven Concepts, is mindset, helping people understand their mind and then allowing them to realize that they have all the potential within them to do whatever they need, whatever they would like to. And I know when you were talking about like the garden 5 minutes a day, it's the same thing I do. It's a similar of sowing seeds. It's going to be wrong for you just to, plant some seeds and then assume that they're just going to grow, but you didn't water them. So you water them. And then the next day you said you watered them, but nothing has come up. Sometimes it takes time. And when it comes to our own life, our own mental health, things can take time, but you do have to nurture yourself. You do have to go on that road for betterment and self-care. And sometimes people are looking for that quick fix, but sometimes it can take some time. Be patient, right? Be patient with yourself, with the progress you're making. It might not be from A to B immediately. Sometimes you're going to have to take detours before you get to B. And I know so many people are so quick to try to get to the destination that they fail to understand the journey. And sometimes the journey can be tough. It can be painful. It will be challenging, but it's rewarding because then when you get there, you can finally say that you did it. And then you put that knowledge in your mind that you did it. And then you keep on doing it. You keep on changing areas of your life that you want to make changes in. So if you're not happy with your addiction, if you're not happy being depressed, if you want to get out of this deep, dark traumas that you had in your life, that maybe you've been one of those people that would just throw everything in the corner. And eventually, if you keep throwing things in the corner, it's going to either surmount to so much where eventually things topple over, or the stench from that corner is finally going to reek into the rest of your life. So you have to figure out what you have to do. And sometimes it's going to require you to really get your hands dirty and to go in your mind and to take care of all those traumas. And it doesn't have to be one day thing. It doesn't have to be, okay, I'm going to spend a week and I'm going to be done. Sometimes it can take a lifetime. And even myself, I always have to remind myself that, yes, if I'm making changes, it doesn't have to be immediate. And it's similar to fitness, it's similar to mindset. You make small changes, and then those small changes are going to equate to the bigger changes. And I know you have a book on addictions and you have the 12 steps, 12 principles that you kind of go on. I know you want to say something about what I just said. So I want you to.
Oh, no, I was just, absolutely. No, I'm just saying that trauma comes in layers and healing comes in layers too. So I so commend you on what you just said. It is so true. And that's a pitfall in when you go in a rehab hospital. I'm a go-getter, so therefore I went, okay, now I've got rehab, cool. I was going to be the best rehab patient ever. So I went all the work. I went 100% in and then some. And then the month was over and they said, well, now your journey starts. I said, what do you mean? I've done it all. I've worked, I've ticked it off. Yeah, my ass. And it is a journey where things continuously will challenge you. And that is life. Just accept it for what it is. You were alluding to my book, Here's My Steps to Sobriety. It's a book that really came about because of all the darkness and that I've gone through. And I was so blessed to be guided by some wonderful people in my rehab. So I thought, okay, come on, let's actually write about that, because that story is, my God, had I known some of those bits, my God. So again, there is My Steps to Sobriety, and it is a bit my story. It goes into the 12-step system, but more in the sense of a failing business rather than some religious way of dealing with things. It's very simple that if you have a restaurant and a friend has a restaurant, you are buzzing and there is no one in his restaurant, he might come to you and then say, well, what's going on? Would you mind coming along and just checking me out? And you go across, you might order a meal, check out the front of the house. You will look behind the scenes, see what's happening, figure out what is going well, what is not going so well. And you might then have a good chat and say, well, actually, no one is ordering that stuff off your menu. Get rid of it. It's unnecessary costs. And let's focus on what goes well. So you strengthen the good sides, ditch or work on the bad sides. You put a quality assurance program in, teach the staff, then maybe go back to your core customers and say, hey, look, guys, we've lost our way a bit, but we're now back. And we want to say thank you for coming back to us. So therefore, here is a 30% off voucher for your next meal and 2 drinks thrown in for free. So you're making amends. And then down the line, you have the quality assurance program is running. You look after your business and you come to a point that it is as busy as your friend's business. And you say, wow, what a ride. I love that. Now, I had such a good time of improving myself. Maybe I now help others to improve yourself. Well, that's exactly a 12-step program. That's the 12 steps, but expressed in a business term, which makes perfect sense for me. But I didn't realize that a failing business was me. And so that was a beautiful thing. And then a good third of the book is actually about the challenges that you will have to face. It is normal. There will be toxic people coming into your life. There will be financial hardship. There will be depression. There are all these kind of things. It's just bound to happen. It's bound to be that you get a leaky tire, that your tire goes down. Well, you carry a spare tire, don't you? So that's normal for you. Yet, when it comes to your own mental health, you will suffer from depression one day. Why not have a spare tire? Why not know actually how the tire looks like? And then maybe where to seek help. So those kind of things. So therefore, it is full of action plans, my book, and full of thoughts, maybe that help you, guide you in your own life. In a summary, the past does not equal the future. Whatever has happened to you so far, it's great. What has happened is that you are now sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's beautiful. You're ready to make a change. So go out there and live your life to the fullest. That's really what I encourage you to do. And you're already on the path because you're listening to this show. You're thinking, hey, these two numbnuts, they have something there. Maybe, just maybe, I can change too. And the answer is, yes, you can.
What I do is I attack the limiting beliefs that we were given when we were younger, because we were given a set of limiting beliefs, and those limiting beliefs stop us from doing so much. I guess it numbs us to the sense of changing, because it's like, okay, well, this is what I did. This is what my circumstance was. This is what I'm supposed to do. Not so much looking for the future and applying mitigation techniques. So yes, we will find depression somewhere down the road. Yes, we will have to go through depression, trauma, anxiety, all of those different emotions or feelings or states of being, we will one day find ourselves there. Most of my clients, they wait till they get there until they find help. And I always encourage people, like, if you're not there yet, find a way to strengthen your mindset where you can be in a better place when that happens. You're not going to build a bridge of twigs, and when it finally collapses, say, you know what, we should use cement. We should get into the mindset of, okay, well, let's build the best bridge we can today. So all of our connections that we have in our mind, in our relationships, in our life are going to be strong and not weak and fragile and then break at the slightest gust of wind. Sometimes we have to have that wake up call for us to really realize that we have been ignoring what we could do. And it's just, we have to act. And I know perception is a big thing where you perceive that, oh, this won't happen to me. Oh, like that's not possible. Like my life is so good, or, I'll never be depressed or something like that happens. But there's people who have wonderful mindsets, but the moment something traumatic happens in their life, they immediately go down into that hole. And it could be that they got in a car accident and that the doctor came in and they said that they can never walk again. And now they're immediately plummeted into this depression, this darkness that they never thought they would get in this car accident. Yeah, of course. No one would wish that on themselves. But in reality, things happen. You can do things today by listening to this podcast, of course, checking out some of Stephan's work. He has a wonderful podcast that you can check out. He's passionate beyond words about what he does, what he preaches. And I know here, especially in America, and I can even say around the world confidently, that mental health is a rising concern, is a rising problem. What we need to do is nip it in the butt versus allowing it to run rampant and then finally getting to that point where we say, well, we really have to do something, because now it's going to be like a wildfire that we didn't try to corner and then start to extinguish it. We're just allowing it to kind of set ablaze and kind of run rampant in the sense of wild. And then when it's finally a problem, then we make it a problem or a concern. Well, let's make it a problem today. Let's make it a top priority today, where we say, you know what, I'm going to attack this mental health that might not be vivid yet in your life. It might not be visible to you, but maybe to other people, maybe to a coach, a guide, they can see your blind spots. And we all have them. I know I have coaches that help me see my blind spots. It's an eye-opening experience when you talk to someone. I had a parent the other day call me. She wanted coaching for her kid. I turned her away because she was thinking her kid had the problem, but in reality, she had the problem. She just couldn't see it. So the fact that she was blind to the reason why her kid is this way, she was saying that the kid is broken and the kid needs help, when in reality, she needed to make changes herself. So sometimes we are blind to our own insecurities, our own problems, and we really need someone to say, hey, this is the problem, and you need to start to make adjustments if you want to see other changes in your life, whether it be in your relationships, your family, your career, you name it. It can be changed. It's just that you have to be aware of that change too. So if I can from you, Stephan, please tell people where they can find you, and then any last words.
My Steps to Sobriety, all written in one word.com, is my website. My YouTube channel and my podcast have got the same name. So it's easy to find. My book has got the same name. Well, one of my books has got the same name, My Steps to Sobriety. I'm involved in a number of projects, and it is beautiful because it is an amazing life once you open yourself up and become vulnerable, and other people who are on the same path, you automatically become allies. I'm putting a few other books together. So this is an ongoing journey. So if you want to stay connected, just check me out on my website, mystepstosobriety.com. My passing words with you is, the past does not equal the future. You can make changes right now, and you are not a victim of circumstance. You are not just a victim. You are a survivor. You are a thriver. Become the thriver, though, by taking action. And we have given you so many options today already. So go out there, look after yourself, and live with passion.
So all your links will be in the description box below for people to easily find you. Check out your podcast. Some of the things that we talked about are going to be even brought into more scenarios, more events for them to get a good understanding, because we briefly talked about mental health because it's such a big topic where it's difficult to get it done in one episode of a podcast. And I know you have a whole podcast dealing on this. You're in the, almost in the 300s now, and it's going to keep on going up because there's so much to talk about. And as our world changes, mental health is going to change, and there has to be adjustments. And it's okay to make adjustments in your life, where if you start to notice that you're going down a path that you're not necessarily in love with, you can change it. So understand that, and then begin to make the changes that you want for yourself. So I want to thank you so much, Dr. Stephan Neff, for coming on Coaching in Session. So much wisdom, and you basically took over the show, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor, and I hope I was able to help.
All right, everyone, I would like to thank you so much for making it all the way through to the episode end. And of course, much love. I would like to thank you for your continued support, for your continued patronage, for checking out Coaching in Session, and to really looking at how you can make your life better. One of my goals with Coaching in Session is to be one of the #1 personal development podcasts by bringing on other coaches, other professionals to one place to help people, no matter what they're working on, to find an answer. And something we alluded to in the episode is about perception. What we perceive is maybe what we would believe. So if we believe that, oh, this is how we're supposed to be, really ask yourself, is this what makes you feel good? Does this elevate you, or does this bring you down? And then really get a good understanding of your energy level. Are you being proactive? Are you not being proactive? Are you being complacent? Are you staying in your comfort zone? There's so much to action, because if we look at the most successful people in the world, they have the same 24 hours that we do. So what makes us so different than them? And we really have to get a good understanding that what makes the difference is the mindset. What are they thinking in their mind? What are they doing in their life that is making the changes possible? And those possibilities are ours too. So we have to, again, start to train our mind to look at the possibilities, to find the solutions, and not so much worry about the answer, because the answer is going to be within us and around us. And sometimes you have to do some searching, but you don't have to go alone. You can get a coach, you can get a guide, you can get a mentor, you can read a book. There's so many different things that you can do to get to a better state of mind. So if you're in a poor state of mind, or if you know someone who's in a poor state of mind, allow them to open up and to share that space with you. And then tell them that they don't have to feel this way, that if they want to feel something different, they can. It's just that they have to figure out what are the proper steps. Who better than Dr. Stephan Neff to help you with the steps to get over any type of mental hurdle that you're having. So I encourage everyone again to check him out. His links are in the description box below again. So if you're looking for mindset coaching, you can reach me, revenconcepts.com, and we will see if we're a good fit for each other, what needs to be done, and then we can go from there. I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.